we actually have crazy tour stories. Boy, I don't even know exactly where to begin. Well, we play Tijuana often. I think this was like the second time.
It was like I think it was like the second or third time.
Yeah, one of our times we went to Tijuana. What we would do, we would go to Tijuana, perform, and then we would go back to San Diego. We would generally stay in a hotel in San Diego. But on the way back, going over the border, Border Patrol asked us to drive to the side for inspection.
For random car inspection.
Random car inspection, yeah, that's right.
I was still covered in paint and blood.
We just finished a show. She's a bloody mess.
I tried to wipe off with like towels beforehand, but I didn't get it all, obviously.
So we were chosen for, random testing. So they had us pull to the side. We don't drink. We smoke. We drink. We lightly drink. We'll smoke pot is mainly what we do. So we didn't have anything in the car. So really wasn't much to be concerned about other than band equipment. And then we realized,
Harold.
We have a third member in the band. His name is Harold. This is a real skull. This is a Tibetan monk who died on a railroad track in India.
Thankfully, he was nicely tucked away.
A lot of people don't know that skulls are legal if they're sanitized by a doctor. A lot of people don't know that. Harold is legal. Well, how do you explain that to the Border Patrol in Mexico?
Yeah, we weren't sure how that would go
So we started to panic a little bit.
Especially with the way we looked. And everything covered in fake blood. And
blood, messy, and we're like, oh my God. And then we have a real human skull in the back of the car. And so, oddly enough, they went and inspected the band stuff. We're sitting there kind of, what do we do? Me getting ready to kind of explain why we have a human skull, but they missed it. And so they let us go, and we got ourselves back to Los Angeles at that time. We have crazy stories. I mean, people want to worship her as like Satan all the time.
there was actually somebody who, when we were trying to load in to a show in the parking lot, there was somebody who came up to me and just went like all out, like, oh, I love Baphomet, Satan, Anton LaVey, the whole list, and just then proceeded to say that, you know, I really want to just like start bowing to you and stuff like that, and I was like, no, really, you don't have to. And before I could, you know, stop him, of course, he's bowing to me in the middle of a parking lot while we're trying to load in.
It's like worshiping her, and we're like trying to load in for sound check in Silver Lake.
And like nobody else is there yet, so
I know. I remember we had this random, the first time we ever played an all ages show was at the Amplify on Melrose. We started performing, and parents started running down the stairs, grabbing their kids and running out of the building, and like every single one of them. I mean, we had that experience as well.
And the lady in charge of the place, as we were setting up, must have, I guess, not looked at what she was booking and saw that his facade and tried to whisper to the guy next door, like, is that Satan?
Baphomet on my facade that kind of announces number 13. Yeah, so, you know, this band was intended to be scary. We both love horror. I'm a giant fan of horror, so this music project is about as honest as it can be. You know, I love bass music. I listen to bass music in the day and black metal at night. That is just the way this thing rolls. So the harmonization of bass metal is really is something real powerful to us. But we had a horror element to this with the blood and a heavy ritual, which is kind of the way that we live here in Joshua Tree. We kind of live in a ritual place.
And we also found out while we were on tour from two of the owners that afterwards some people would try to sage the place afterwards to try to like clear the place.
We were in Kansas City, Missouri, and we just played a show, and I could smell sage in the air. I could smell it. And we love sage. Yeah. So, you know, we're witches, we love sage, we're all for sage.
Shoot us away.
Yet we heard later that they brought the sage, a few people that were in the audience had seen us in our videos and came to sage the place down because they thought we were toxic, which oddly enough led to one of our songs, Toxic Black. You know, it's like, this is art. Art should be however you want it. There's no harm done in art, you know, so we like this art black. And that's, you know, we really are very natural and very genuine in that. We're not posers. We're not people that, you know, only act like we're witches on stage and go to normal lives. Our whole life is this type of a ritual. So that when we heard that people were saging the plays, we're like, oh my God, it's hysterical. We love sage. And then she forgot something, an article. We opened our tour in Vegas. So our last show was in St. Louis, and we had to go to Vegas to pick up some of the stuff that she left. And when we got to Vegas, the owner there told us that they also saged the place down after we performed. And so we realized then we were developing a pretty intense reputation on the road as being one of the darkest bands out there. And the Whiskey, oddly enough, well, one of the members of the Whiskey, Carlos, had stated that we were the darkest band that ever performed on the Whiskey stage. And one time we went to the Whiskey to watch a band, and there was an actual discussion going on of who was darker, Luna 13
or Watain.
Or Watain. And that's when and we were just sitting in the back listening to the argument there. So this band started to develop a pretty heavy reputation about being dark fast. We're also shut down in Las Vegas at the Porn Artesian Hotel.
We're supposedly not wearing enough clothing. Yet the guy, while we were, you know, about halfway through the last song, the security guy comes up to me and tells me that, like, I've got to put on a fishnet or something to cover up, and fishnet's not going to cover anything. So, and, you know, finishing the show for everybody. Everybody's, you know, happy and enjoying the show, so they came to watch it. We're going to finish it. He couldn't stop me. He went and got some of his guys to go try to unplug him. And thankfully we were able to finish the show, but we figured it was because of the music. The last song was Upside Down.
Yeah, the combination of the song Upside Down, which is basically saying I'm going to turn the cross upside down, and her being nude and blood flowing everywhere. They're like, this is enough, we're going to close this place down. So yeah, we got shut down in Vegas. There was a girl there that actually was really upset that we were shut down, so she wrote an article about Luna 13 being actually shut down at a porn hotel in Vegas. But yeah, we are striking a chord out there for sure.
Yeah, they claimed it was because of nudity. There was a guy walking around in a Speedo, thong, and glitter. I mean, I was wearing more than he was.
Yeah, everybody was nude there practically to some degree. It's like it was the intensity of a combination of everything that got us shut down in Vegas. So yeah, we've been saged twice, shut down in Vegas. We travel with Harold, our human skull here. He's a part of the ritual, you know, and he's famous too. One other thing, we were in a movie, The Devil's Domain.
Oh yeah.
And so the band Onyx jumps on stage after us, and so we perform. They jump on stage, and one of the members of Onyx grabs the human skull and starts. He thought it was a prop, and I just said, "By the way, that's a real human skull." And whoa, Harold goes flying into the air. I had to go get him. So we're striking a chord out there on tour.
And also, with co-headlining for ICP, we found that out on a whim, and then while we were setting up to perform, we weren't co-headlining at first. We were just, you know, one of the bands on the lineup, and about half an hour before we're gonna have to now go on, they're telling us that now we're co-headlining, and you know, surprise, like, you know, in 30 minutes you got to get on stage and co-headline, so that was pretty fucking cool.
We've had some pretty unusual events take place. We can jokingly call them like satanic events. like we got a call saying, hey, you want to open for ICP? And we're like, oh my God. And all the show's next week too, by the way, so we ended up opening for ICP. We're told we didn't care where we were in the lineup. When you're opening for ICP, we were just excited to be on that bill. It was actually, at that time, the biggest thing that ever happened in 13 was getting the call from the ICP team saying, hey, can you open up for ICP? We get there, and then mystery just surrounds. How did we end up in the co-headlining slot? We have no idea. Nobody knows. Nobody how we ended up in the co-headlining slot, which we did that night, and that was we entered the Juggalo scene on that night as we heard the chants of family there. That was a very powerful event too.
Mhm.